Hi, as promised, here's a video to show you how to pick up a drop stitch in your moss stitch. I would take a look, if you haven't, if you're new to picking up stitches, do take a look at my stocking stitch video first to show you how to pick up stocking stitch, and then move on to this, because on this you're picking up a knit stitch and a purl stitch. So I would check out the other video first if I was you. So if you've dropped a stitch, don't worry, you'll be able to pick it up. Now you might drop the stitch when you're halfway through a row, or you might find that you've dropped it and you finish the row, and you will need to come back to this point where you've got the spaces in the middle, where you've got to pick up. It's got to be in between your two needles, because you're going to be using your needles to pick up. So say you're you've gone further on, and then you've looked back and you thought, oh, I've got a drop stitch. You just move the stitches onto the other needle just by placing your needle into here, and you go back till you get to this point. Then what you have to do is get the stitch, the last stitch that's been formed. That's, in this case, it's 4 rows down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of these strands is a row. So find that stitch and put your needle in. And as mentioned in the other video, make sure that the right hand side of the stitch is at the front, because all of your stitches, as you look at them, the right hand side of each stitch is at the front, the left hand is at the back. That's how they sit on the needle. So do it in the same way. Don't do it this way, do it this way. Okay, so now because you've got a knit stitch and a purl stitch, because it's moss stitch, you look at what you've knitted on your needle as the last stitch. Now that's smooth, so that was a knit stitch. So now you need to pick the next row up, and you've got to knit it as a purl stitch. So put the next strand, the bottom strand, onto your needle, and then what you are going to have to do for a purl stitch is transfer both of those across to your right hand needle. Then you need to get your stitch to the right of it and the strand of the row to your left, and you're going to pull that stitch over, pull the strand over the stitch, and that, if you see, you've got the bar there, you've made a purl stitch. Now you're going to take it back onto the left needle, and you're going to find your next one. Now be careful you don't mix these up, so you can check by the stitches that are here, and you can see that that's the next row here. Now then you check, so that's a purl stitch that you've just made, so it's got to be knit, because we're doing moss stitch, it alternates between knit and purl. So on a knit stitch, you keep it on this needle, you've got your strand of your row here, and you're going to go over with the stitch, and that's picked up the next stitch. Now that's a knit stitch, it's flat, it's a knit stitch. So then what you've got to do is find your next strand and just hold the stitches like this, and you can see you've got one row here and one row here. So you're going to pick this one up. Now you've got a knit stitch, so you want to make a purl. So we're going to transfer them both onto this needle again. We're going to get this strand over to the left, that stitch, and then we're going into, what I'm doing is I'm putting my needle into the stitch itself, and I'm pulling over the top. Now I've made the purl stitch. Transfer this back onto this stitch, and here is your final row that you've got to pick up. Pick it up. Now it's a knit stitch, so we keep it on the left hand needle. I'm going to go into the stitch, and I'm going to pull it over. Like in the other video, if you're new to knitting and you're worried about this stitch, this falling off, you can just hold it with your finger as you pull it over, if that helps. Okay, so now you've picked up moss stitch. As you can see, you've got a bump and a smooth, a bump and a smooth, and a bump and a smooth. So now all you need to do is transfer all your stitches along to the point where you get to your thread, so that you can carry on knitting. So there you go, all repaired, and you're ready to carry on knitting. So that there was where it is. If when you've picked up there might just be a slightly looser thread, you can just even it out. And that's your moss stitch fabric all repaired. I hope this helps.